Terry Moran, who's now departed from ABC. He's very upset. He's one of the people who thinks Trump has been smearing the Somalis unfairly. Just want to give you some color on it. Here's Tot 6.
First, it's a stupid thing to say. There are about 200,000 Somali Americans, refugees, immigrants, and American-born kids, too. And they came here because they believe that America keeps her promise, that this land is big enough and brave enough to offer safety and dignity and upward mobility to hard workers and big dreamers from around the world. Somali Americans are working hard. They're starting businesses, paying taxes, raising families. Second, presidents should not talk like that. No decent person should call any other human being garbage. But Trump does it, not just because he is that kind of man, but for political reasons. He wants to drag people down to his level, give them permission to become the worst version of themselves, and join him in remaking our country in his image.
Okay, Terry, thanks a lot. We appreciate that. He thinks President Trump is out of line and is very angry about it. Michael, thoughts?
Listen, Terry, Ilhan Omar is not going to marry you, bro, because she married her bro. So she's not going to marry you. It's not going to happen. Speaking of garbage, we can say about arguments that if you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. If you're going to have garbage for your premises, you're going to have some garbage conclusions. And his premises are just totally off. He says that Somalis are hardworking. They're not. They're just not. I'm not saying there isn't a Somali who is a hard worker, but as a group, they're not hardworking. He says that they pay their taxes. They don't really. They're not net contributors to the government in any way. They're largely on welfare. The vast majority of them in these American enclaves are in poverty, and they just don't contribute. And now there's been this massive scandal where they were actually defrauding the government. So no, none of that is true. But then the broader premise on America is also wrong. It says they've come here because they believe that America is going to live up to the promise that if you're a hard worker from anywhere in the world, you can come here. That's not the promise. That's never been the promise. I don't know where you got that idea that America said, we don't have borders, everyone from around the world should come here. That isn't true. The country was founded a long, long time ago. It was founded by some people on the Mayflower, which is a great cigar company, by the way. And they came here in 1620. They came to Jamestown actually a little earlier than that. And they said that some people can come here. But you got to believe certain things. You got to have certain disciplines. You got to kind of fit in a little bit. And then when we had the American Revolution,
they actually said that. Just to be clear, they actually said that exact thing. They worried about people who would not assimilate being let in. They did not want that. Keep going.
This is why we had like basically no Muslims in America until recent decades. And it's no knock on Islam even generally. It's just not how the country worked. I mean, it's just a fact.
They don't want us either.
Right. This is just a fact of history, okay? The only American engagement with Islam before recent decades was really in the Barbary Wars when we were making war on them because the Muslims kept imprisoning and enslaving our sailors. So fast forward to the American Revolution. In the decades after the American Revolution, we severely restricted immigration. Then you move into the middle of the 19th century. We opened up immigration a little bit, but it was still relatively restrictive and assimilation was difficult. Now it is true, by the end of the 19th century into the early 20th century, we loosened up immigration considerably and it caused a ton of problems. So many problems that in the 1920s, we greatly restricted immigration again. And that was the status quo until the 1960s when the Democrats opened the floodgates. And in that, even more recent years, then the Democrats opened up illegal immigration and imported millions and millions of people. So even the claim that America is a nation of immigrants, that's not true. And you'll notice that whenever you ask for evidence on this, they don't point to the Constitution, they don't point to the Naturalization Acts, they don't point to any actual parts of American history. They point to this stupid poem on the base of the Statue of Liberty written by a socialist that says, give us your poor huddled masses. That does not have the weight of federal law, first of all. Like dumb socialist poems are not the Constitution. And two, that doesn't even actually describe the American tradition on immigration. We've been by far the most generous nation in the history of the world when it comes to immigration, but there are limits, and I think history and the American tradition should be able to weigh in on it more than the bloviations of Terry or whoever that guy was.
I think less about the poem by the socialist and more about that brilliant sage, Homer Simpson, who in one of the episodes held up a sign, Norma Ray style, that read, "Go home, the country's full." That's really where we are today. As all matters, Homer Simpson has solved it.
Brevity is
Terry
the soul
Moran,
of wit, as the
who thinks,
bard tells us.
That's right. So he thinks that Trump is hateful. I mean, he just got booted from ABC for pretending to be objective when he's not. It was shortly after he posted this tweet about Stephen Miller in June. The thing about Stephen Miller is not that he's the brains behind Trumpism, though he is, but that's not what's interesting about him. It's not his brains, it's bile. He's a man who's richly endowed with the capacity for hatred, a world-class hater. You can see this just by looking at him because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats his hate. This is an objective news reporter, allegedly. Trump is a world-class hater, but his hatred is only a means to an end, and that end is his own glorification. That is his spiritual nourishment. So no surprise he's at it again, trying to rip on these people. Now, you made some interesting points about immigration and what the founders envisioned. It's gone a different way, which is not only being acknowledged by people like you and me, two MKs, but by Wajahat Ali, who our audience may remember as being one of the three on that infamous Don Lemon clip with Rick Wilson of the Lincoln Project and Don, where they were mocking Trump voters, like, yeah, them smart people with their maps and like their history. That's their version of what Republicans and MAGA sounds like. Completely sneering, elitist assholes. He has a different thought on immigration. And here's how it goes. SOT 10.
You have lost. You lost. The mistake that you made is you let us in the first place. There's a bunch of us. And we breed. We're a breeding people. And the problem is you let us in 1965. There were a few of us beforehand. But once you let one of us in, you know what happens with brown folks? Our grandmother comes, our grandfather comes, our uncle comes, our aunt comes, our cousin comes, our second cousin comes, our third cousin comes. Then we have kids, a bunch of kids. And then guess what? Some white women, the Western civilization women, the pure women, the American women, quote unquote, the Rust Belt women, the real women, they like some of us brown folks. We don't take them. They come to us. So we're embedded. We are everywhere. I want you to realize this. You have lost. Your story is a shitty story filled with misery. It's filled with bland chicken. It's filled with terrible, terrible dry ass meat. Your music sucks. All your culture sucks. Nobody. That's why the kids like listen to black people and their music. That's why the kids love Latinos. Your parties suck because they're monochromatic. Our parties have better food, better music, better looking women.
Then get out and go back to Pakistan, since you seem to love it so much. No one will miss you. This is the son of two Pakistani Muslim immigrants. He was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. He studied at University of California, Berkeley. He got a law degree from the University of California, Davis. He's written for the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Atlantic, CNN as an opinion contributor. And that's his thanks to this country that has given him so much, given him his world-class education, put him on TV. Obviously, he's a man of means, is to tell us we Americans actually suck. Our country sucks. Our culture sucks. We can't cook. He wants to take our women, the white women, is that what he means? And make them what? Like they want to use the white women to make more little Pakistanis. Okay, great. See how that works out for you, Wajahat. And by the way, his parents are a couple of hot messes. I had it in front of me the other day, but they're ex-cons. I'm going to get my facts, but they're ex-cons and they're deeply troubled. Hold on, here it is. This is what he comes from. This guy who wants to judge the rest of us as like cultureless and problematic. Stand by, I'll get it. Soon after 9/11, his parents, who sold academic software, were arrested and imprisoned for mail fraud, wire fraud, and other counts as part of a large Microsoft anti-piracy criminal indictment. They spent nearly 5 years in prison. What does he say about it now? He says they were targeted for being brown, Michael Knowles. They had a trial. They went to prison for 5 years, and he wants to say it's down to skin color. And you know what that gets you? A job at the Times and an opinion writing gig at CNN.
I find the clip delightful for this reason, Megyn, actually, because the words, they got clipped out. Obviously, it's a much, much longer clip, so you only heard the highlights. But he says white people, you lost. And we brown people won. That's always the framing here. That's why he's talking about the white women and the brown people. He says we Pakistanis were a breeding people, which if we were to be specific, we would probably have to say inbreeding people because of the extraordinarily high rates of cousin marriage. Though maybe that's a conversation for another time. In any case,
it's a thing.
He makes the point though. He says, look, Wajahat Ali, view politics as a battle between the white people and the brown people, and we brown people are going to win. We're going to beat you. And by the way, your country sucks and everything about your culture sucks. It's kind of funny because that last bit raises the question. You say, well, can't help but notice you keep coming here. There's no crisis of mass migration to Pakistan. It all seems to be going in the other direction.
Maybe it's our forks.
Yeah.
Is that what you're, perhaps you're really loving our utensil use? I get it. Our working toilets. I understand.
It's very tempting.
That would lure me out of a country too.
What I love,
anyway,
I love most about the clip, Megyn, is the fact that you mentioned earlier. This guy, he was born here. He was born in California, and he is in many ways the perfectly assimilated lib. He graduates from Berkeley. He writes for these stupid left-wing publications, and he bloviates. He dresses sloppily. He is the lib par excellence. Okay, and yet when you push him, he has this racial tribal hatred for the native population of the country to which his parents fled. And I think that should arrest all of us for a moment, because what it means is that, actually, we should give the libs a little bit of credit here in the way they talk about immigration. It means that heritage is an important aspect of identity. And I think that's true. My great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents came from Italy, and that does affect me a little bit. I do feel a little bit Italian, don't I? My great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents came on the Mayflower and named a whole cigar company after it. That does affect me in some way. When black people sometimes say that they have difficulties with America because their ancestors were brought in chains, in a way, I kind of sympathize with that. It's not an excuse for living a bad life today, but I kind of sympathize. And what Wajahat Ali is saying is, you can be the most assimilated lib in the world, but when push comes to shove, at least on the left, these tribal anxieties are gonna reassert themselves, and that means that the old view of immigration is vindicated, which is that, identity is really complex. And when you do take immigrants in, you got to be really cautious about it. And you have to have, in the best of circumstances, all of the tools in place for people to assimilate. I think it's possible to assimilate. I don't think assimilation is necessarily always harmful. Ruth assimilates. She goes from being a Moabite to an Israelite, and she's in the genealogy of Christ. So I think it can happen, but you have to do it in a really careful, cautious way. And when the people like Wajahat Ali come out and tell you exactly what they believe and exactly who they are, we should listen to them. We say, you know what, Wajahat, you're totally right about immigration. I guess it's time for us to stop it.
Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa chips contain just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste delicious too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash and no bloat. And if you love Masa, then you will love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, which is Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips too. Ready to give Masa or Vandy a try? Use code MK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick a couple of bags up before they're all gone.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.